What's going on, YouTube? Today I bring you my second official 2023 NFL mock draft. Now, I was looking and for some reason I didn't find my first mock draft, which I'm pretty sure I had made after the draft last year, and then I had made one before the season. But I could not find either one of those. So, although this is my technically a second official mock draft, since I did it way too early in a first, this is the first one going up on the channel. But we're going in today, current draft order, so this is probably not how things will be um, ordered when we go into the actual draft. But starting out with the first four picks, number one, the Detroit Lions have the first overall pick, and to me, the best prospect in this class when it comes to talent, but also like a decent floor, is Bryce Young. Um, when you watch him play, he simply is fantastic. He is pretty much the entire Alabama offense. Big arm, he's accurate, he makes plays outside the pocket, maneuvers the pocket. This Lions offense, it's building a very good young offense with explosive talent, and I think Bryce Young is your quarterback of the future here. Number 2, the Texans taking CJ Stroud, who may be the highest upside guy in the class, especially out of the quarterbacks, but maybe in the entire class in general. Maybe has the highest upside. Now, for the Texans here, it's kind of just like you have to take him here. It's either Young or Stroud, whichever the Lions don't take. Um, Now, personally, I think Stroud to the Texans would be a little worrying for me because I don't really trust them to develop him, and I think he's gonna need some time and some good, people around him to help him develop. So, honestly, at the end of the day, I think the better fits would actually be CJ to the Lions and Young to the Texans, but when I do my mock drafts, I kinda look at it through the lens of, like, both what would I do, but also what would the teams do? And I think the Lions would opt for Bryce Young instead of CJ Stroud, also because he's just shown more. He's the Alabama offense struggles heavily without Bryce Young, whereas with CJ Stroud, he's got phenomenal amount of talent around him that he's just not going to have in the NFL with how high he's going to be picked. So Texans would worry me, but I think it's really realistic as to where he goes. Number 3, the Panthers have the 3rd pick right now, and I'm going Will Anderson. Um, he might be the best player in this class day 1. Just an incredible use of speed and strength, versatile as well. I mean, you can line him up as like an outside linebacker in a 3-4. Um, right, you use him as a 4-3, like wherever you want to use him. I mean, he can do it for the most part. Just again, incredible with how he uses his power and speed. He does it phenomenally, best as anyone, and he's going to be a great player coming day 1 into the NFL. Um, I don't think there's a whole lot to drag on this guy. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if the Lions took him number 1 overall. I just think you gotta go quarterback here with how important it is, and, Jared Goff's probably not the guy going forward. Will Anderson, I mean, he makes this Carolina defense just scary. Will Anderson, Derrick Brown, Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, JC Horn, CJ Henderson. Yeah, that's a scary, scary defense back there, especially now adding Will Anderson. Number 4, the Steelers gonna go Peter Skoronski. I know a lot of people like to mock Olu Fashanu to this pick, but for me, Peter Skoronski is still the premier line talent of this class. Olu has been crazy. He's been good this year, but Peter Skoronski has also been on another level. I'll have to find the stat, but and it's well, what the heck was that? I have to find the stat, but it was something crazy, like, on I have to scroll back. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but basically, he has, like, 2 pressures, up until, like, last week. So I don't know if he's given up any, today or last week, but before that, he allowed 2 pressures through the entire season, and that's just insane. I mean, this guy is gonna be really good at the next level. He's big, he's consistently good, he's been dominant this year. For me, he's still the premier talent, and the Steelers would, I think, be happy to get a great tackle here. Honestly, I think he could slot in at left tackle and be very good for them. Moving on, we have number 5, the Jaguars taking Quentin Johnston, who is pretty easily for a lot of people now, including me, the wide receiver number 1 in this class. Just the combination of size and speed alone is crazy. How well and how quickly he moves for his 6'4" frame is really that's enough to kind of be worth a high pick. But you take into consideration the fact that he's also a really good route runner. He's also got a really good hands and he's great at the catch point. And then you take into the fact that he really doesn't play with that much great talent around him. Like teams are focusing on Johnston and he's still destroying teams week in, week out. And honestly, I really think that he's not even close to his upside yet. Like Johnston, he might be maybe the best player in this class, and he's really not close to his peak yet. And that's just scary. Getting him for Trevor Lawrence would be huge because then you have Johnston, you have Kirk, you have Ridley. You're setting Trevor Lawrence up here for success, but Johnston himself could become a very, very good receiver here for the Jaguars. Number 8 or number 6, the Raiders are gonna take Jalen Carter out of Georgia. Jalen Carter is my number 1 player in the class still. I know people have tried to drop off on it a little bit. That's just kind of how it goes throughout the season, right? Like people try to slot new guys in, find like cool new like ways or players for teams or whatever. Jalen Carter is still a top 5 player in this class, and even though I have him going 6, like that's just a steal for the Raiders, really. Just kind of what I went with. The other teams didn't lead to Jalen Carter, but the Raiders getting him would be crazy good for them being able to slot him in there next to Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. um, it would make that defense so much better. You have interior presence, but Jalen Carter's a different monster, man, because he just has such insane power. He gets to the backfield so quickly. I mean, he's almost got the speed that he could play an edge rusher, even though I prefer him as like an interior guy. Jalen Carter's just all around a different breed. 6 would be a steal for the Raiders. Number 7, the Buccaneers are going to take Hendon Hooker, who a little bit older, and he's only shown it for 1 season. But this guy could absolutely be a pretty good quarterback at the next level. Buccaneers, Tom Brady, we'll see what happens with him. Regardless of whether he comes back or not, he's not the same as he was. And yeah, he's had to deal with, a line not playing great this year and some injuries on the offensive front, but he's also like you could just really see the age going. Either way, he's going to be done within the next couple years. I mean, there's just no way he keeps going after that. And I know people have been saying that for years, but truly the age is actually starting to show for Brady. And Hendon Hooker, I think even if Brady sticks around for a year, like to be able to show this guy maybe even some more to progress his game even more would be awesome. But Hendon Hooker's been phenomenal this year. He is the Heisman winner as of right now. Just such a great deep ball, very athletic, can maneuver a pocket, and he really progressed on a lot of those other things he wasn't great at. Throwing down the middle of the field, taking the check downs, reading a defense better. He's doing it. I think he's worth the top 10 pick at this point. I think the Buccaneers would be happy to have him. Number 8, the Eagles are gonna take, I don't know if it's Ellie or Eli. I'm kind of starting to hear both, but either way, I've been saying Ellie Ricks, out of Alabama, who hasn't played all season, and then, I think a couple weeks ago now, right, they finally use him, and he just shuts down his opponents, and it's stayed the same. Who knows how he played today? I'm pretty sure Alabama played today, but either way, um, firstly, good on the Eagles for getting a top 10 pick like this, right? But Ellie Ricks, he's been elite since his freshman year. He came in as maybe the best corner in college football as a freshman. And I think, people have kind of started to lower on him again because he hasn't played and stuff. But I think when he came out, when they let him play, when they gave him snaps, he was elite and he just shut down the other team and he just proved how good of a player he really is. I was thinking maybe he returns for a senior year at Alabama because they weren't playing him, but now that they finally are, and we're seeing what doing, I still think to me it's kind of Derek Stingley situation where, like, yeah, he's had a few issues, like being on the field and stuff, but the talent is absolutely there, and maybe you like Christian Gonzalez better, but for me, Ellie Ricks is a crazy good talent and makes sense here for the Eagles to add to that secondary, having him, as your future number 1 most likely because, Bradbury and Slay are still older guys at the end of the day, I think makes sense, so he'd be a great player to add here for the Eagles. Moving on to the next 4, at number 9, we have Miles Murphy out of Clemson, who it's kind of an issue because, like, with Georgia, for example, um, their defense is well, and still is crazy, crazy good. But the issue with that is part of the reason why they're so good is because every player is a good to great player, and so when you're adding that all together, like, people can do their specific job and be really good at it. And that's why a lot of the Georgia guys this year have been kind of underwhelming. Lewis Cine, he's struggled to stay healthy, but he's not been great when they have played him. Quay Walker has not been very good for the Packers. Devonte Wyatt has barely gotten any playing time for the Packers. Jordan Davis, he's been good, right? But he's kind of also still doing the same thing he was asked to do at Georgia. So that's kind of the issue, right? And I think it's kind of the same thing here with Clemson now because they've started to get really good, especially on that defensive line. KJ Henry, Miles Murphy, Brian Bryce, Tyler Davis, ton of Xavier Thomas, so much great talent on that line, and so I kinda struggled. I'm like, I know Miles Murphy is benefiting from playing alongside such great talent, but at the end of the day, he's still, like, the premier guy of that pass rush. Like, he's still the most consistent, he's still the one that if any of them get double teamed, it's gonna be him. Like, at the end of the day, while he's definitely benefiting, and I think it may be a reason he takes a year or 2 to get going at the NFL level, when you're the Texans where you're rebuilding, you've got time, you've got CJ Stroud, now you got Miles Murphy, I just think it makes sense, right? It's the perfect combo of, like, quarterback, pass rusher, get 2 potential keystone guys on both sides of the ball, and, try to get them going. So, Miles Murphy, I think could be a pretty good pickup here for the Texans, definitely high upside there. Number 10, the Seahawks from the Broncos getting Tuli Tuipulotu from USC, who has really emerged. I was kind of lower on him for a while, like, I'm struggling to see it. Watch some more, and I think this guy does a lot of stuff really well. Use of hands, his power, he does have sneaky quickness. He's really just got a great arsenal to use, and it's only ever improving. I think he'd be a good fit in the Seattle defense, could go in there as, like a 3-4 D end, I think. Even, he ideally, I think, is a 4-3 defensive tackle, but a 3-4 D end, though, I think would work great for him as well. So I think it'd be a good pickup here for the Seahawks. Number 11 is going to be Christian Gonzalez to the Cardinals. They really need a corner badly still, and Christian Gonzalez has been really, really good this year. The former CU Buff, I believe it was CU, not CSU, went to Oregon, and he really has just balled out. He's played great. Teams will not throw to him because this guy is just so shut down. That's what you look for. Totally see an argument for him to be number 8 instead of Ellie Ricks. But either way, I mean, I won't fault you for taking either one. It's kinda like Stingley and Sauce this year, like, both are fantastic corners. I don't know if either one's gonna be as good as Sauce has been year 1, but Gonzalez definitely has the potential to be a lockdown corner at the next level. And Jordan Addison at 12, gonna go to the Chicago Bears. His injury, I don't wanna knock him down all that too much for it, to be honest. Like, yeah, injuries suck anytime, of course, but to me, he's still, was my number 1 receiver for a while. The injury doesn't really have anything to do with Johnston moving up. Johnston's just been crazy good, but Jordan Addison is also really good. He's been my number 1 receiver since before kind of the season started here for college football, and really comes off as just like someone who can be your X receiver for sure, but I think you might be best used as like a Cooper Cup almost, where it's like, yeah, he's your X receiver, right? He's your number 1 guy, but primarily if you use him in the slot and you use him correctly, this guy can be very, very deadly to NFL defenses. And he's had some big games, where it's hard to cover him. He's just really hard to cover. And I think again, use him as a slot might be his best option. Jordan Addison would be a fantastic option here for the Bears, because I think he would go hand in hand really nicely with Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. You got your speed threat, you got your deep ball threat, and Jordan Addison can kind of be the rest of that, like the slot, the intermediate guy. I think it makes sense. I think it'd be a good pickup for the Bears. Then moving on to number 13, the Packers are going to pick up Jackson Smith and Najigba out of Ohio State, who has been hurt, but has still very much shown, that he is a very, very talented receiver. He was arguably the best receiver even last year for Ohio State. And as of right now, I mean, that might be Marvin Harrison, but Jackson is still a great receiver, though. As always, Ohio State receivers are fantastic route runners. But more than that, He's really similar to Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, like, combined, and I think that's why people were so crazy over him last year because it's like Olave and Wilson were already really good receivers, but this guy's almost like the 2 of them combined. He's maybe not the most physical guy, he's not the best after the catch, but at the catch, he's really good, great route runner, so he might be the best Ohio State receiver, that we've seen out of the last 5 years, from guys like Terry McLaurin and Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and I mean, we might be saying that next year anyways about Marvin Harrison. But either way, though, for the Packers, you got to go receiver. You have to get elite receiver help. And I mean, that's not to say that Jackson will be elite number year one, but he definitely can be down the road. And you really, really need that. I just don't, there's not better options. I mean, they didn't go and trade for anyone. They obviously don't have Adams. And like the free agent class for receivers this year is bad. So for me, the pick has to be receiver, especially if you can get a guy of Smith Najigba's skill set. At 14, the Lions from the Rams going to take Michael Mayer. So they go Bryce Young, and then they go Michael Mayer, who he's easy tight end one, and definitely I'd say probably the best tight end prospect of the last decade besides Kyle Pitts. Really has just been fantastic for Notre Dame. Um, I think he's really similar, almost in a light to like almost a Mark Andrews, but maybe a bit more athletic, and I mean, that's high praise, right, Mark Andrews? So, I think it'd be a great pickup here for the Lions. You just traded away TJ Hawkinson, go get your new quarterback, another great weapon to use. I mean, what, you got DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, Michael Mayer, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, um yeah, and then a really good line. I think you're building up that offense to be something potentially really special there in Detroit. 15, the Colts getting Olu Fashanu. I know for some people this is really low, and he does fall a little bit. He'll probably be closer to a top 10 pick. But for the Colts here, you're really, really happy to get him. Great guy, great player, big, strong, fast. I still have Skoronski over him just because Skoronski I truly do believe is that good. But Olu really will go higher than this. He just kind of drops in this mock, but the Colts are very happy to have a new left tackle in there that could potentially be, an all pro someday. He is really good for someone that's not been starting a whole lot until this season. So, great pickup here for the Colts, I think. And then the Bengals at 16 going to pick up Osiris Torrance. More line help, yes. I forgot to put he's a guard. Um, but at the same time, their line's also not been that good this year. Um, Jonah Williams is just not a good tackle, and I think that's kind of time to accept that and move on. La'el Collins is not that great of a tackle. Um, Alex Kappa's been solid, but Cordell Volson, who's been solid as well, but it's like it's not ideal starting guards, and Ted Karras is better as a guard than a center, so I don't know why they still keep playing him there. They really went to try to improve the line, and it's still not been that good. And I was looking like, where else do you really go for the Bengals here? Like, I think, they're having issues here, and I really think at the end of the day, you gotta kind of go back and just say like, why aren't we winning games? Well, their offense is kind of struggling, and so is their defense. But I trust Luanaramu. Their offense is struggling, and I think it goes back to the line a lot still because it's just really not still been playing good. I love Osiris Torrance. It's one of my best finds because I was like top 5 guard, like top 5 interior guy on him last year, and then he returned, went to Florida. But I was really high on him. Now everybody's got him as a first rounder, guard number one. He's been, a top 5 guard even since last year for me. So one of my prouder, finds from originally a Raging Cajun. But either way, I think this would make sense for the Bengals. Like I know it's more line help, but they really could use it because truly it's still an issue for them in Cincinnati. Moving on to the second half of the first round, at number 17, we have the Patriots going to go Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. Hutchinson is a guy that very high upside, right? He's played well at Ohio. Oh, I can't say Iowa today for some reason. At Iowa State, despite again not having a ton of great talent around him, but the dude is a great route runner, great hands, great speed, all around. Just look, he's the kind of receivers that you want to get right for a guy like Bailey Zappi if he is going to be the quarterback going forward for New England. A guy who likes to throw it downfield. I think Hutchinson has that great combination of speed and route running. He'd work really well in the Patriots offense. At 18, the Commander's going to go Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois, who has really, really impressed this year. Um, he was rising and rising up my board, and he just keeps going up because week in, week out, he just goes in and he just puts on a phenomenal performance every single week, and he's great, right? There's not a whole lot to nag him about. The corners in this class are really good this year and high upside. I think Devon Witherspoon maybe a little bit of the lower upside, but I think more of a safer prospect. I think he fits with the Commanders, and they could really just use like a safe corner. 19, the Falcons gonna go Kelly Ringo, keeping him in Georgia. Ringo, I know, is someone that I'm definitely lower on than most. A lot of people have him as their corner one. He's my corner four. Um, Very high upside for sure. Very athletic. And really, at the end of the day, if you're gonna take a corner with his athleticism, his speed, and for his size, I mean, I think this is the right place to do it, especially for a Falcons team that like if Ringo progresses, he could become a very, very good corner. My issue with Ringo is that he sometimes just gets badly beat on routes. Sometimes he just looks lost on the field, and so he's definitely more of a developmental guy for me. But he has the athletic traits to make up for, because like every corner gets beat. And really, I think speed, reaction time is the best thing a corner can have. And he does have good speed, again, especially for his size. He can absolutely be one of the best players from this class. I don't know if he will be, but I think it's well worth the bet taking him, mid first. Then at 20, the Broncos with the 49ers pick. Sorry, just adjusting a minute. The Broncos with the 49ers pick, gonna take Broderick Jones. And this is a pick that I see everybody making. Everybody at number 20 has the Broncos taking Broderick Jones. And for a little bit, I didn't really like it that much because I felt like, linebacker may be a bigger need for them. But, I got here in my mock and I was sitting there and, I said to myself, like, yeah, this makes sense, right? He's a powerful big tackle. I do worry about his, pass protection against speed rushers. He's not a phenomenal run blocker, but very high upside tackle. I think he could go in there at right tackle or potentially left tackle if Garrett Bowles doesn't stick around past his contract. Either way, Broderick Jones, a high upside tackle, big guy, athletic. I think it makes sense here for Denver after going through the mock. Number 21 is going to be Zay Flowers to the Chargers. He's pretty much carrying Boston College's offense. He's very, very quick. Um, he's not like an elite route runner, but he's good at the catch. He can make stuff happen after the catch. And again, I think the speed is really the big thing you got to bring up here. He knows how to use it well. Um, Number 22, well, and also, well, because, the Chargers receiver room has not been very good. Number 22. Now, I gotta explain the thinking on this one, right? Because with their earlier pick, they went with, Tuli Pelotu, right? And so, Geno Smith has been great this year. He really has been. He's been a top 5 quarterback this year. The thing is, he's 33. I believe he's 33 or 34 next year. He's not gonna last for that long. Unfortunately, not all quarterbacks last into their 40s. I don't see that happening with Geno Smith, and honestly, I don't know if he plays like how he is this year again. Um, to me, Anthony Richardson has probably the second highest upside of anyone in this class besides CJ Stroud because he's basically Cam Newton 2.0. Incredible mobility. He's got a decent arm, but it really comes from the fact that for his size, he moves so incredibly well and he's only getting better as an actual passer. He's not been good this year for Florida, no, but his traits are incredible. If you give him to Pete Carroll, let him develop for 2 or 3 years behind Geno Smith. You're in a little mini rebuild. By the time this guy comes out of the oven, you might have yourself, a superstar quarterback to go along with a team that is now definitely well built up based off of how they've been drafting recently. Um, Maybe you wanna go somewhere else, but for me, a quarterback with such high upside that, he's gonna need time to cook in the NFL oven, and the Seahawks, I think, brings that perfect timeline. To me, Anthony Richardson just made sense at 22 for the Seahawks. 23, the Jets are gonna go with Andrew Voorhees. They've put a lot of attention to the line as well, yes, but Mekhi Becton really cannot stay healthy. Dwayne Brown is only there for a year, I believe. If not, like, he's there for next year, but he hasn't played. Um, the I prefer Johnson or Voorhees as a guard, but he absolutely can play tackle as well. He's a versatile guy. I think he would work well at it. And if he doesn't work at it, I mean, move AVT out to tackle and swing Voorhees in the guard. I think there's a lot of things you can do here because you have some versatile guys there with Voorhees and AVT, and Becton has the size to switch into guard. So I think you've got a rotation of guys that like you will have two guys there that work out at tackle. So I think it makes sense, right? The Jets, they've struggled. If you're picking at 23, I really don't know how you can improve from Zach Wilson. But he's not been good. If anything, I think you just continue to build up the offense, get more weapons, build the line better, and if you have an opportunity to go for a better quarterback, go for it. But for right now, you just got to make the situation best you can for your quarterback. 24 forfeited from the Dolphins because they're cheaters. Most teams are, though. 25, though. The Ravens are going to go with Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, someone who has really picked it up, especially because of Hendon Hooker's emergence. But here's a junior at Tennessee. He has performed very, very well. A great slot receiver for sure, but definitely someone who can also be an X. He's kind of like a mini Jordan Addison, to be honest, but maybe a bit better of a route runner and just not quite as, I think what makes Jordan Addison special is that he's just really, really good at doing everything good. Like, he's not fantastic at any specific thing, he's just good at everything. And I think you can say similar for Hyatt, where, maybe he's a bit of a better route runner and, a bit more fast, but he's also not quite doesn't have quite as good hands and such. Um, I think like, I'd still prefer Addison after the catch to do stuff for me, but Hyatt, though, I think he fits that mold right. He's quicker, a better route runner, but, he can be a Jordan Addison-like player. I think he'd work great here for the Ravens and what they want at receiver. 26, the Chiefs are going to go Kalijah Cansey out of Pittsburgh. I've been a big fan of him for a while. I think he works really well as like a 4-3 D end. And so I think as a Frank Clark replacement, this would be a perfect pickup for the Chiefs. Their offense has been great, right? Best offense in football right now. But their defense has still been a little lackluster in some areas, especially pass rush. Getting someone next to George Karlaftis and Chris Jones, it's going to start to make that pass rush pretty good. And I think Kalijah Cansey could be that guy. 27, Cam Smith out of South Carolina. Used to be a lot higher on him. I mean, he's still a first round corner to me, but I think this is a great fit here in Dallas. Him and Trevon Diggs, I think, could make a very, very scary duo. And it only adds to that defense and how well they've been. But Cam Smith really can be potentially a shutdown corner. I think he's got some good upside, very physical but athletic. Just kind of similar to Rango. Like, there's some issues with just like some plays he just gets badly beat. But like Cam Smith, a very talented guy. 28, the Giants are going to take Jalen Jones. Their team's performing really well. They're finding ways to win games, but you're not going to really improve from Daniel Jones at this point. I don't know if they want to, if they like him or not. But either way, the defense could use some attention on the secondary part of things. Safety is looking good. McKinney and Love are playing good, but at corner, Adoree Jackson's been good, and that's about it. Go get yourself a guy like Jalen Jones, maybe even best as a slot corner, but I definitely think he can be elite as an outside as guy as well. And, that's part of the reason, right? It's like you've already had 5, this is the 6th corner taken off the board in the first round. Um, the other option was Clark Phillips, but he's pretty much only a nickel or a slot. And Jalen Jones can absolutely be a boundary guy as well, and maybe even primarily a boundary guy because the Giants have so many slots. So either way, I think he can play as both. Very talented guy as well. I don't know if he'll be like shut down like some of these other corners can be, but he should be a pretty good corner. 29 going to be Anton Harrison to the Titans, who they're really starting to need some line help. Taylor Lewan might be at the end of his rope. The other tackle right now is Nick Petit Ferrer, who I was a fan of, but he's not been great as a rookie. And you're still going to have a left tackle vacancy because what is it, Dennis Smith? Not that good. Either way, they could use line help. I like Anton Harrison. He's not one of the premier guys of this class. He's not Skaronski um, or Olu, but those guys are also just really, really good. And there's a lot of other good line talent in this class. Darnell Wright, right? Like, there's a lot of good. I'd say like linebacker, and tackle were the big positions that kind of had big falls. So like this is only the third tackle off the board, because I'd still consider Voorhees a guard, even though to the Jets he'd probably play tackle. Either way though, this is the only the fifth lineman off the board. There's much better talent than that in this class, but I think, it's just kind of like fell to the second round for the most part. But Anton Harrison, though, good pickup. He's not quite on the same level as Skoronski and Olu, but still potentially a pretty good tackle here for the Titans. I like him as a run blocker, which, Derrick Henry. Then at number 30, the Vikings going to take Kobe Turner, another guy that's really gone up the boards for me. He's started to play very well for Wake Forest, creating a lot of pressure, getting in the backfield consistently. He's added to his arsenal. I think it makes sense for the Vikings. They could use some pass rush help because Danielle Hunter has really been underwhelming. I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded this offseason for real this time, and they could still use some like D line help, not edge, but like D line. So I think Turner would make a lot of sense here for that. 31, the Bills are going to take Trenton Simpson, the best linebacker in this class, in my opinion, who has some issues. That's part of the reason. Like linebackers, the running back of defense now. Because they're just not as important as they used to be in some ways, and in this class especially, like, Trenton Simpson's my top linebacker, and I do like him. At the same time, he also has a lot of issues. He's not the greatest run defender in the world sometimes. Like, he just does not blitz correctly sometimes. So there's issues, right? But they're very teachable. I like him in pass coverage. So like I think for the Bills, you're already such a great team. Go try to get better. Take a high upside guy. Trenton Simpsons makes sense here. And then at 32, ending off the first round, the Eagles are going to take Bijan Robinson. For a while, he wasn't my one. I finally come around to him being my one, just because like I don't view him as being high upside as some of these other running backs, but at the same time, like, just go get a guy that's gonna help you win right now. You know he's gonna be a good running back. He would fit your offense. Bijan in the Eagles offense would be crazy. Um, they already got Ellie Rick, so I don't really think you have to like prioritize like, another important position like this, especially if you're winning the Super Bowl, right? You're picking at 32. Go get yourself a great running back in Bijan. But that's going to wrap up my second official 2023 NFL mock draft. If you guys like the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Leave your mocks down below if you want to make one. Tell me what you thought about your favorite team's picks, other picks. Did I miss someone? But either way, I got other content coming out soon, of course. I have the quarterback rankings up if you want to go watch those. Plenty more rankings, plenty of other videos. So stay tuned and thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.